I got to tell you, even though Barack may be one of the most pro-worker Democrats that we've ever nominated, he's also up against one of the biggest obstacles that we've ever faced. And it's not because he's wrong on the issues. He's not. It's because there are a lot of white workers, quite frankly, some of them union members, who think he's the wrong race. I was reminded of that back in the Pennsylvania primary. I went back to vote in the primary, and I ran into a woman that I've known her all my life. She was active in Democratic politics when I was still in grade school. We got to talking, and I asked her if she'd made up her mind who she was going to vote for. She said, "Oh, absolutely, Rich. I'm voting for Hillary. There's no way that I'd ever vote for Barack Obama." And I said, "Well, why is that?" And she said, "Well, because he's Muslim." And I said, "Well, that's really not true. He's as much Christian as you and I, and besides, who cares if he's Muslim? I don't." Then she shook her head and she said, "Well, he won't wear an American flag pin on his lapel." And I looked down and I said, "I don't have one on. Quite frankly, you don't either." He wears one plenty of times. He just thinks it takes more to be patriotic than wearing a plastic flag pin that might have been made in some foreign country. And then she said to me, "Well, I just don't trust him." And I said, "Well, why is that?" And until this time, we had been making perfect eye contact. And at this moment, she lowered her voice and she started looking at the ground and she said, "Because he's black."
We got to keep an eye on the battle that we face, a war on workers. And you see it everywhere. It is the Tea Party. And you know there's only one way to beat and win that war. The one thing about working people is we like a good fight. And you know what? They got a war with us, and there's only going to be one winner. It's going to be the workers of Michigan and America. We're going to win that war. President Obama, this is your army. We are ready to march. Let's take these son of a bitches out and give America back to America where we belong. Thank you very much.
We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded.
President Obama, this is your army. President Obama, this is your army.
I don't like basing who is deserving of fair treatment and human treatment in the world on who has money.
I'm here because I'm a student and I'm only a junior. I'm already in debt.
Would you all support the impeachment of Barack Obama?
For what specifically?
Anything. Your choice.
Because I don't like his tie? Like, that's not even a question.
For the war in Afghanistan, yes.
What about for his assassination of a U.S. citizen for speech crimes?
I mean, it's a bad thing. It's definitely a bad thing.
Not impeachable?
If I thought it was realistic or useful to the country to unseat the president right now, especially a year before an election, like, it's a bad thing. But is it going to really benefit the country? What concrete benefits do we achieve by impeaching him?
Well, we'd get a dangerous, violent extremist out of office, at least.
Yeah, but what happens to the country?
Doug just said that he supports the use of force if it's what?
If it maximizes social justice, if it can improve the lot of everyone, if it can increase the standard of comfort among the people, if it can maximize freedom, the ability to live our lives, and it improves our well-being, then yes, I believe there should be force.
I believe force against another human being is always morally wrong, no matter what the excuse or any individual's judgment of what is good for the rest of society, and any initiation of force is inevitably detrimental to human happiness.
All right. I mean, I agree with that. It does do bad things sometimes. Force can be misapplied, but let me ask you this. When you have a wealthy, powerful class, how do you induce voluntary cooperation on them to maximize social justice?
You don't induce voluntary cooperation. You don't tolerate force or aggression in any form.
Well, so what's the solution then?
Raise the standard of morality in society to condemn all forms of initiation of force between human beings.
Well, you can set up a sort of ideological framework to encourage voluntary cooperation, but at the end of the day, the CEO of ExxonMobil or BP is just doing his job. He's still held accountable to a different set of obligations. You can have this private morality, and then you can have the obligations he has to deliver a profit to his shareholders. So how do you bridge that gap?
The only way he has an advantage in the market in the first place is because force is applied by government in his advantage to keep out competitors. If there was a true free market, he wouldn't have that advantage. He wouldn't have that ability to gain an economic advantage through the force or threat of force by others. The reason that he has an advantage in the first place is because if people try to compete and get around the regulators that he's bought off or already figured out a way to comply with because of his existing concentration of economic force, of financial wealth, then you don't have the ability to compete. He's not initiating force. It's the government that's initiating force. And if you say the government should initiate more force, the government should have more control, what you're saying is that your ideas are going to be imposed on other people by force. I'm saying no, it is unacceptable to ever do that. Persuasion and peaceful cooperation is the only sustainable way to get past these problems with society today.
Well, I mean, I obviously believe that my ideas are persuasive enough and beneficial enough to society that people should subscribe to them at the conclusions of their own reason and their own sense of right and wrong, but frankly, some people don't, and yes.
And at the end of the day, you will use force against those people.
I believe that it's the role of the government to use force.
So you won't do it yourself, you'll hire someone else to do it, basically.
That's what a government is.
I'm really ready to get Obama in a second term, and I'm really ready for him to really grab his cojones and you know, speak out not only for, it's not about Democrats. Like I said, it's about the middle class and the lower class.
You're not here to impeach Obama? I thought this was a protest.
Hell no, I'm not here to impeach Obama. I'm not anti-government by far. I just am pro-reform.
Education costs have kept going up under Obama. The wars have kept going up under Obama. The bailouts have kept going up. Obama actually, as of 7 months into his presidency, deployed more troops abroad than Bush had his entire term. He is the most pro-war president that we've had in terms of financial expenditures on war and having escalated the war in Afghanistan. Why do you support a second term for that kind of violence?
You off on that because I really don't. I don't agree with those statistics at all. I have never seen that. I have no idea where
you don't think we've escalated in Afghanistan with Obama, or that Obama, you don't think you're saying Obama hasn't escalated the war in Afghanistan?
I think that we are in a lot of shit. I think that all of our focus as a country has been focused on the Middle East, and I believe that Obama definitely could have done more. I would like to see no troops in the Middle East. I would, but I'm glad that we're out of Iraq, and I'm glad
we're not out of Iraq though.
I understand, and you can talk to Halliburton and Bush about that. But
we still have tens of thousands of troops in Iraq, and under the plan that Bush had actually in 2000, 2008 when he was leaving office, we would have had troops out of Iraq sooner than under Obama.
Who are you?
I'm independent. I'm just making a video for my YouTube channel.
Okay, well, I don't want to talk to you much longer.
Okay.
I know you're in the process of coming up with your demands. If you would allow me just to state my own personal 2 cents. If you would allow me to state my own personal 2 cents. I want to see a perp walk. I want to see a perp walk. I want to see the people responsible for destroying the lives of millions of people. I want to see the people responsible for destroying the lives of millions of people. In handcuffs. In handcuffs. And led away. And led away. And brought to justice. And brought to justice. Immediately. Immediately. That's number one. That's number one. Number two. Number two. It's time. It's time. To make them pay. To make them pay. Tax them. Tax them. Tax them. Tax them. Tax them. How much? How much? Not enough. Not enough. How much? How much? Still not enough. Still not enough. How much? How much? Still not enough. Still